Hello, I am Heavy's GPS, also known as High GPS, creator and director of the Balance mod. And in this video, I'll go over the changes we did to the medic and why we did them, and so forth. Normally, what you see medics use these days is a crossbow, uber saw, and some sort of medigun. Before we can really get into why medics are using this combination and not really much else, we have to look at what is called the medic's gameplay loop. And the gameplay loop is basically the elements that makes up your gameplay which you are looping, right? So as a medic, you want to heal. As a medic, you want to build uber. And also as a medic, you want to survive. Now, all of these elements or key points are connected and tied to each other. So doing one of them will help you do the other two. So what I mean by this is by healing, you're building uber, and by building uber and using uber, you're able to survive and stay alive. And when you stay alive, you're able to heal more and thus build more uber, which allows you to, again, stay alive more. When you have uber, you can also heal more because you are invincible, so you can heal while you are surviving. And also you make your teammates survive. And when your teammates survive, it helps you survive because they can fight more. And when you survive longer, you build uber. So you can see all of these three key points really go together really well and makes up a really satisfying gameplay loop for the medic class. Now this ties in to the unlocks that are most commonly used. So the medigun, it heals, it builds uber, naturally it helps with survivability. This is like the core thing, and we're going to be calling all of the mediguns for ubers, given that you know when to use the different ones. They can all be equally good when used right, quick fix users. Crossbow heals at a distance, and it does burst heal, so that's pretty good. That goes into healing. Doesn't build, well, it builds a little bit of uber, but it's not much. It's better to use this for uber. And then you have this thing that doesn't heal, but it builds quite the substantial amount of uber when used, right? Just to showcase, like, we have, this is like you hit someone 4 times, and then you have this. And also, while you are using this, and in the uber animation here, or the uber thing, you can actually hit people and extend the uber. So I can be like healing this guy, wah, this guy, wah, this guy, right? That's pretty good. And I can heal from a distance, you know, if I just slap everyone this amount, I can just shoot and heal from really far away. I can also kill bad guys with it from a distance. Also up close. Pretty good, pretty good. So the reason this is this good is because it ties into the triangle that that I just mentioned really well. So what I want in the balance mod is for everything to be good at something. So you can either be good at something that you meet often, or it can be good at something you meet sometimes or rarely. But then if it has to be good against something you meet rarely, it has to be really good at that specific thing, if you understand. So when it comes to balancing, we've done these changes on the medic, and we're gonna look into these weapons, because what you normally do when you're starting to balance stuff, you gotta collect some information and just see what is out there. And one thing that I found a bit useful is actually user-created tier lists. Now, user-created tier lists aren't necessarily representative of how things actually are, but it is a representative of how that person's perception of the weapon is, or the unlocks, or whatever they're making a tier list of. So they're good to get an idea of how they are perceiving things. But perception and how things actually are isn't always the same. But this is what's interesting when I just go onto Google and I just find a bunch of different tier lists for medic, judging the different unlocks. This is what we get. So we can see here in the S tier, the best tier, we have crossbow, uber saw. Okay, gonna ignore the rest. S tier, crossbow, uber saw. Crossbow, uber saw. Crossbow, uber saw. Crossbow, uber saw. This is the one I made. It's a bit on the nose. Why is crossbow and uber saw always in the S tier? Well, as you might have already guessed, because I've been kind of talking too much about it, is because these two unlocks are really the only two unlocks that competently fits in to healing, building uber, surviving. So let's take a look at the stock weapons, right? If we look at the stock syringe gun, what does this do? Kills enemies. Okay. What does this do? Kills enemies. Does it help me heal or survive or build uber in any way? No. Does it help me survive? Kinda, but it's not so good at helping you survive that you will not use this, right? So that's why I've decided to, well, as you can see in the balance mod page here, that's why like all of these weapons have gotten buffs, and while the uber saw and crossbow has remained untouched. If we further analyze what has happened here, so we have healing and building uber. This one doesn't do any damage. These two do damage. And then we have the healing and uber building attribute just slapped on this thing. Because, you know, if I shoot someone, you can see now I have 15% uber. Now I have 21. So it hurts and builds uber. That's pretty good. This thing doesn't heal, but it gives me a large amount of uber. As you saw earlier in the example, I can continue to just get the uber, and when I have it, I can like switch back and forth and extend it, which makes the time you are invincible and the uber part of the triangle really good. It's really good. So analyzing this is what Valve has done, right? They've taken the uber part, healing part up here. All right, these thing, no uber healing, no uber healing. But what if we did? What if we did? And we did. We basically did for this weapon, the Vitasaw, is actually pretty interesting because it's one of the worst unlocks for medics, and I'll explain why. Do you remember the gameplay loop, right? Healing, surviving, building uber, right? How does this help us? Well, it helps us die. It helps us survive less, which makes us heal less, which makes us have less uber. It's actually the opposite of what you want. It's literally punching yourself in the face and wondering why it hurts. Punch in the face, sure, I'll do that. So we have completely scrapped this design. And also keeping uber charge when you're dead. Only engineer and the pyro gas passer, because how pyro works, should be allowed to keep something upon death. Everyone else loses everything, including medic. So no amount of dumb weapon that makes you survive less is going to do that. So what we've done, we basically made this the uber saw and this the crossbow. Works like this. Like syringes are pretty good when people are coming at you. Let's say we're retreating, and you can just shoot and you make like an arc like this. I actually got a kill there, yay. But it builds uber, as you can see. If we just refill all the bots' health, now they all have full health. So let's say if I'm killing this, let's say if I manage to land all my arrows on this demo man, right? I get 26 uber. Not as much as a swing from the uber saw, mind you, but I can do this pretty non-committal. Let's say I can be like healing this guy. Oh, I'm getting pressured. Pop, 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 pop. Going back, doing this. Oh, being more pressured. Pop, 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 pop. Doing this. So we've also added passive reload. So you can see here, I'm holding down M1, and it's actually doing this animation. So it's not like when you are normally reloading, you can cancel the reload animation. But once you switch weapons, it has to complete before you can shoot again. But this makes it that you can very easily, non-committally, just throw out some stuff, and you can extend the uber, but you don't actually see how much uber you have. So yeah, that's how that works. The Vitasaw, you just hit people and it heals actually a lot. So you can see here it heals quite a bit. But what's interesting here is that it also cures all forms of ailments, except bleed, I think. It cures fire and Girardi and stuff. But the interesting part is that you have to be fairly close to your heal target. And normally when you use the medigun, you can actually be pretty far away. So that means when you are hitting people with this, you're actually exposing yourself to splash damage and getting shot and killed because you're actually healing. And also, as a medic, normally you will pay attention to whatever the enemy does because you're tethered and you can look around like this. But with this weapon, you kind of like all your focus is whoever you're healing and you don't necessarily see the enemies. And I think that sort of balances the weapon out because you're more exposed and you don't necessarily evaluate threats because you don't see them as easily, right? So we've done basically the switcheroo where we just done like, it's basically just the invert of this, which is a viable playstyle. You can actually catch, like, let's say if you catch a heavy that's eating a sandwich. Just to give an example here, if I have no Uber and I see a heavy here and I just shoot and kill him, 37% Uber. And I can do this from afar. I can do this from over here. So while this is pretty good, keep in mind that the enemies will be moving. If the enemies like mimic here, and I'll do this here. Like it's not so easy to land every single shot when you're getting shot at yourself, right? So that's one thing to keep in mind when using this. So it's good for self-defense and it gives you some Uber for self-defending. So we've actually, like, it helps with survivability and it also gives you a little bit of Uber in return. But it's not as good as getting Uber as the Uber saw is, because that's even more risk reward, right? So what else have we done? Well, we've done more stuff. We have done the amputator. You can now cancel the healing, because normally, like being able to get more health while like just standing like this is actually pretty good for just surviving. So it helps you survive, and you can also heal everybody. As you can see here, we can heal multiple players at the same time quite quickly, but then often, let's say this soldier here, let's say he has like taken 100 damage, right? And we want to heal that. And if you look in the top, it heals pretty quickly, and then we're kind of stuck in this animation for a long time. So we've given you the ability to just cancel out whenever you want. So here, you can see that I can just, we'll look at the top, run, heal everyone. Oh, the pyro's full health. Looking at the top. So changes the dynamic of the medic, and it makes you survive more and heal more, and not necessarily build Uber faster, but you're not get stabbed as easily because you can look behind you and like instantly cancel, which is pretty good. For the bone saw, we have actually been through quite a few iterations of this. In the current iteration, keep in mind this may change because we're still experimenting, but it is when you get a kill, it drops a health pack. And normally, health pack heals 30 for a medic. But now it heals 45 because we actually have more health. You get 50% more health off health pack. And also it applies bleed, and it does a bit more damage. It's a bit higher kill power than the others. And then it drops the health pack. And the health pack can help you and help yourself. And this also works with other weapons. So you will drop a health pack if I use this. And also drop a health pack if I use, you know, if I do like whack, bap. That drops a health pack. So you can actually get some nice combo out of this, especially with the back scratcher pyro. So that's pretty good. So we've given this more survivability and healing, not necessarily Uber. For the soul and WoW, we have seen that like seeing enemy health can be pretty useful, but then also it's good for just escaping because now it has faster run speed, and it helps you run away easier because you have increased knockback while it's active. So that means you can surf rockets and stuff a lot easier with this weapon, thus increasing your survivability without stepping on the other's turf. And then we have the overdose, which was kind of fine. So what we've done, because the solo WoW gives free speed for no reason, is that this one too gives free speed for no reason when just using it. However, it does scale with normal Uber as before, but you will run faster even at 0% Uber using this, and the speed's the same at max. Then we have the Blutsauger, which is probably one of the worst unlocks for a medic in the vanilla game because of the less health drain per second, which means you're gonna die to afterburn a lot. Because the problem is, as a medic, you're usually doing this. You're not doing this, right? And the downside is active while you are doing this. So if you're healing and you get shot, then you have to defend yourself. Then you're not healing and you're not building Uber, and because you're already at a lower health threshold because of the slower regen, you actually die faster. So it's actually almost as counterintuitive as the Vitasaw is. But what we've done is that we've given you the ability to prepare. So let's say we are healing some guys and then suddenly our team dies, right? And then it's just a bunch of enemies. And we know that they're coming and they can see us. And we have some Uber, like here we have 65. But then if you start shooting people, you can actually overheal yourself before taking damage. Now this is pretty huge. Keep in mind we also removed the downside of the slower drain, so you actually can get quite a lot of health from this. But just being able to overheal yourself while retreating actually increases your health or survivability quite a lot in the games where your team isn't really able to defend you as much. And also, interesting fact is that you can also heal teammates with this. It doesn't build any Uber, but it does overheal yourself and your teammate, which is pretty darn good. So the main reason that the design is like this is like in situations like these when you're being pressured and you're not being properly protected by your team. Let's say the payload cart wasn't here, but then you could like use the players that aren't moving to just kind of heal yourself up like this. So it's pretty good. And of course for the bone saw, it also applies to all of the melee unlocks as well. So hopefully I've given a good explanation of why things are the way they are for Medic in the balance mod. Definitely a lot of viable unlock combinations here. So what I really like the inverted meta, which is Syringe and Vitasaw. Just having the Vitasaw here is actually pretty darn good. And being able to defend yourself is something that isn't possible. It's nice, it's a mix-up. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.